Did you know that for Good Will Hunting, the lines in the scene when Sean talks about his late wife's farting antics were ad-libbed by Robin Williams? That is why Matt Damon was laughing so hard. If you watch the scene carefully, you can notice the camera shaking a bit, possibly due to the cameraman laughing as well. 2. When Robin Williams won the Oscar for his supporting role, he sent Pierre Augustinski, who dubbed his voice in German, a small replica of the Oscar statue with a note saying, "Thank you for making me famous in Germany." 3. When Matt Damon was in his 5th year at Harvard, he was in a playwriting class. The culmination of it was to write a one-act play. He started writing a movie, which with the help of Ben Affleck became this movie. 4. When Robin Williams read the script via Francis Ford Coppola and really liked it, his one question for Coppola was, "Who are these guys?" 5. Ben Affleck was 25 when he won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for this film, making him the youngest person ever to win the award. And Matt Damon was 27 and is the second youngest person to win the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Did you know that for Terminator 2, the production took so long that Edward Furlong's growth caused the production team to have to make certain adjustments during the shoot? He is noticeably younger in the desert scene than in other scenes. His voice began to break and had to be pitch adjusted in post-production. He had also grown quite tall over the months that for one scene shot late in the production schedule, he had to stand in a hole in the ground in order to maintain continuity and height difference with Linda Hamilton. 2. For the Los Angeles River sequence, Arnold Schwarzenegger was in pain because he could not wear a glove while cocking the gun, so his fingers would get stuck in the mechanism. He tore the skin from his fingers and hand many times before he mastered it, and he frequently hit Edward Furlong with the gun while doing it, one time almost knocking the young actor out. He had to achieve all this while trying to act and control a Harley at the same time as James Cameron told him where to look. He could not dart his eyes either, because it would have ruined the shot. Shooting the gates also took weeks of practice because he had to also act cool while doing it. 3. Robert Patrick undertook a rigorous running regime and practiced breathing only through his nose in order to appear to be a cyborg that could run at high speeds without showing fatigue. Did you know that for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Margot Robbie accidentally took home one of Quentin Tarantino's on-the-day shot lists from one of her days of filming? She discovered it months later and was afraid to say anything in case Quentin asked for it back. When she revealed this to Quentin, he told her he practically throws them away when he's done with them and offered her many more. 2. Quentin Tarantino was scheduled to make the film for the Weinstein Company, but severed the ties when the assault allegations against co-chairman Harvey Weinstein were revealed in the press. To avoid a repeat of the script leak incident that almost cost him the Hateful Eight, he wrote a memo to all theatrical studios, summoning them to send one representative to his agent's office in Beverly Hills to read his Manson script in person at an arranged time and date. The memo also mandated that each representative was required to sign a heavy non-disclosure agreement, read the script in person, and present the list of demands and conditions to the studio management. After reading the script, Warner Brothers, Universal Pictures, Sony Pictures, Paramount Pictures, Annapurna Pictures, and Lionsgate were welcome to make a bid for the theatrical rights before a second round of bids pitched to Tarantino himself. Did you know that for Goodfellas, Robert De Niro wanted to use real money for the scene where Jimmy hands out money because he didn't like the way fake money felt in his hands? The prop master gave De Niro $5,000 of his own money. At the end of each take, no one was allowed to leave the set until all the money was returned and counted. 2. The How Am I Funny scene is based on something that actually happened to Joe Pesci. While working in a restaurant, a young Pesci apparently told a mobster that he was funny, a compliment that was met with a less than enthusiastic response. Pesci relayed the anecdote to Martin Scorsese, who decided to include it in the film. Scorsese didn't include the scene in the shooting script, so that Pesci and Ray Liotta's interactions would elicit genuinely surprised reactions from the supporting cast. 3. Martin Scorsese had sewn off making another gangster movie until he came across the book Wise Guy, and he immediately cold-called the writer and told him, "I've been waiting for this book my entire life." The writer replied, "I've been waiting for this phone call my entire life." 4. Some mobsters were hired as extras to lend authenticity to scenes. The mobsters gave Warner Brothers fake social security numbers, and no one knows how they received their paychecks. Did you know for The Shining, Shelley Duvall suffered from nervous exhaustion throughout filming, including physical illness and hair loss? Nicholson considers Duvall's performance the most difficult role he's ever seen an actress take on. Duvall also considers her performance the hardest of her life. 2. There were so many changes to the script during shooting that Jack Nicholson claimed he stopped reading it. He would read only the new pages that were given to him each day. Nicholson also said that eventually, when presented with a revised scene, he would throw it in the trash, knowing another was coming anyway. 3. Tony Burton, who had a brief role as Larry Durkin, the garage owner, arrived on set one day carrying a chess set in hopes of getting in a game with someone during a break from filming. Stanley Kubrick, an avid chess player who had, in his youth, played for money, noticed the chess set. Despite production being behind schedule, Kubrick proceeded to call off filming for the day and engage in a set of games with Burton. Burton only managed to win one game, but nevertheless Kubrick thanked him, since it had been some time that he'd played against a challenging opponent. Did you know that for Star Wars The Force Awakens, Mark Hamill and John Boyega successfully lobbied director J.J. Abrams to allow Star Wars fan Daniel Fleetwood to see the film before official release, as Fleetwood had been diagnosed with terminal cancer and was not expected to live to see the film's release date of December 15, 2015. Fleetwood was shown the film at a screening in his house after Disney agreed. Fleetwood died November 10, 2015. 2. When Finn and Rey ask Han if he is the Han Solo, he replies, "I used to be," which is a reply Ford himself regularly uses when fans ask if he is Harrison Ford. 3. Mark Hamill claimed George Lucas nonchalantly told him over lunch a new Star Wars trilogy was going to be made by Disney, and if he did not want to be involved, Luke Skywalker would simply be written out of the script. However, Hamill immediately agreed to reprise the role. Hamill admitted, however, that he pretended to also be nonchalant about it, so it didn't seem like he was excited for the role. He also said within 5 seconds, Carrie Fisher exclaimed she'd do it, and asked if there was a part for her daughter Billie Lourd. Did you know that for Toy Story 3, Pixar animators had figured out how to animate things like water and fur? Although being able to realistically animate fur was originally a concern for Toy Story 3 animators, the real animation challenge was trying to animate the trash bags in the movie. Since trash bags have special properties, such as how it reflects light, animators spent weeks trying to get the trash bags correct. 2. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen insisted that they record their lines together, which they had previously done for one day during the making of the original Toy Story, but which is rarely done with animated films. They loved the chemistry their characters shared on screen. 3. For inspiration for the Sunnyside Escape, the Pixar staff watched numerous prison movies. Director Lee Unkrich said, "There are a lot of prison movies out there, and I think we watched every single one of them." 4. The Big Baby's one line for the entire movie was, "Mama," and the crew had a lot of babies audition by recording them saying the line. The baby that was chosen was named Woody. In fact, director Lee Unkrich joked that was the reason why they chose that baby. 5. Blake Clark became the new voice of Slinky Dog, replacing the late Jim Varney, who died of lung cancer in 2000. Clark and Varney had been good friends. Did you know that for Avengers Age of Ultron, Scarlett Johansson was pregnant during filming, so many of her scenes were scheduled early in filming before she began to show? To help hide her pregnancy later in filming, 3 stunt doubles were hired. This caused a lot of confusion amongst the other actors since, according to them, all of the stunt women looked very similar to Johansson. Chris Evans stated that it got to the point where he would say hello and start a conversation with one of them, only to realize midway that the person he was talking to wasn't Johansson. Ultimately, some scenes used CGI to hide Johansson's belly. 2. Because Ultron was 8 to 9 feet tall, the 5-foot 10-inch James Spader had to wear an antenna-like contraption made out of a thick piece of wire with 2 red balls attached to the top that went up his entire back and 3 feet above his head that represented the placement of his eyes, so the cast would know where to look. Elizabeth Olsen stated that this was actually distracting because Spader would be giving an intense performance, and out of instinct, she would look at him rather than the balls representing his eyes. Whenever this happened, Aaron Taylor Johnson would yell, "Red balls! Look at his balls, Lizzie!" in order to get her to look in the right direction.